Some people seem to choose the games they just played. Others say pandemic's number one. Will it ever change? Dice Tower People's Choice Top 100 Games.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel. Welcome to The Keys and in Florida. And today we're talking about the best 100 games of all time according to you, or at least 2,000 of you who voted in our thing. Today we are going from number 30 to 21. So these are games that you guys think are fantastic. So I've talked about different factors that have to do with why these games exist, why they're on this list, I guess. One of the big things is the game in print? A game might be really enjoyed by people, but if it's hard to find, we're constantly having new people who are constantly voting on these things and coming in and getting involved in gaming. And if those people can't find these games, well, they're not going to make it on the list. So then there's other factors that have to do with things like it might be really expensive. And so a really expensive game might not make the list because it's just hard for people to buy it. So let's get started here with number 30 is a game that's new to the list this time, but is not a new game. It came out a few years ago, but it's from the master, Uwe Rosenberg, and it's a game that still astounds me that people like it as much as they do, and that's Patchwork. Now, I guess maybe it's Tetris at work. Patchwork's a two-player game in which you're putting pieces on your own patchwork, and it's a very simple game. You're moving along a track, grabbing these different pieces and putting them on your board. It was now full-blown into Feast for Odin, which is a game I like a lot, but Patchwork's a much simpler game, and it's really, really loved. So it hit the list brand new at 30. Number 29 is a game I really hate, but I'm obviously in a minority here, and that's Terra Mystica. Terra Mystica, this is the fourth year it's been on the list. It started at 54, up to 29 now. It's constantly rising. I just don't get it, I guess, but I do know that there's a lot of mechanisms. It's a fantasy Euro game. Each person's a different race, but there's Settlers of Catan elements in it. There's not worker placement, but just actions as you move around. There's a lot going on in the game. It's really too much for me, and I don't mean here to drag on your choice. You guys have made a marvelous choice here. Mystica's amazing. I don't think so, but the people who like it, this is one of the ones that I think maybe got a fewer votes than some of the other ones, but the people who voted on it put it very high to the top of their lists. They love it. All right, let's get to one where I can agree with you guys on, and that's number 28, Agricola. It's been on the list for 6 years. Do you realize the very first year we did this list, Agricola was number 2. Now it's down to 28. Now, actually, I thought it would be lower because I thought Caverna would beat it around and knock it down. And it may be that Caverna is higher on the list, but it's not that much higher. In fact, I'm going to talk about it in just a few slots. So they're closer than you think, and I think it's kind of divisive. You know, if there was an election today, Caverna versus Agricola, well, first of all, that'd be a much more fun election than several I've gone through. But secondly, I think it'll be a lot closer because a lot of people like the diversity. Agricola has more diversity with the cards. Caverna, you're going to play the same game every time, but I think Caverna is easier and more fun to jump into. Hey, Tom Vasel interrupting my own video because I missed some numbers. I got so talking about Agricola and Caverna, I thought they were the same game, so skipped up. So after Agricola, number 27 is a new addition to the list, and that's Time Stories. Time Stories is a fantastic game. It's a modular game where you stick these modules and think of it as a video game system, and you stick in a deck of cards, and then you go through this fantastic choose your own adventure story with everybody else. Except you're all working together, you're trying to figure out a mystery, and after a certain amount of time, boom, you reset and go through again, except this time you know what to avoid, hopefully. Time Stories, great game. 26, second year on the list, is Sheriff of Nottingham. I call this a Dice Tower Essentials because it's in the Dice Tower Essentials line, and I really mean it. It's essential. You need this in your collection. I really think that. I didn't design the game. I have nothing to do with the game other than making sure it got reprinted. But I did so because this bluffing game, trying to say, this is in my collection, I just love how that works. I love that whole, you can tell the truth, you can be lying, and it's a great game. It's an ice-breaking game. Everyone I played it with has loved it. It is, well, obviously you guys agree. So Sheriff of Nottingham. And number 25, I already mentioned Caverna. It's a few spots higher than Agricola. I personally prefer Caverna a little bit more than Agricola. Well, a lot more than Agricola, actually. But I can see why you don't. But either way, Caverna or Agricola. Now, I do know that there's no more expansions for Caverna coming because I talked to the designer and he has told me this, which is sad, but that doesn't diminish Caverna at all in my sight. Either way, Caverna or Agricola, they're both a ton of fun. All right, let's get back to the other me. All right, number 24, fourth year on the list, came in at 26, stays at 24. This game's popular because 1, it's a deck builder, and 2, it's about Marvel. That's Legendary Marvel deck building system. Now, incidentally, people who have played the Legendary Aliens and the Legendary Predator sets, usually those people I talk to say they like those sets better, but none of those sets made the list. Legendary Aliens, I think, was at 120 or 130, but Legendary Marvel Encounters, very popular. It's cooperative. People like that. It uses superheroes you know, unless you buy the new expansions, in which case you're going to use superheroes no one's ever heard of. But it's just fun. It's entertaining. They constantly stream out new superheroes. Almost any superhero you can think of in the Marvel Universe is in the game. That's Marvel Legendary. Number 23, I already mentioned, Arkham Horror was beat out by this one. I said it was coming. That is Eldritch Horror. This is the third year it's been on the list. It came in at 8. I think that's because people were super hyped up about it. Last year was 22, this year 23. I think we're seeing what position it's falling in. I think as time goes by, I think they're going to phase Arkham Horror out and Eldritch Horror will take its place. I could be wrong. I wonder if Betrayal at House, if Mansions of Madness will go above both of them next year. We'll see. But Eldritch Horror, adding that globe-trotting aspect, Indiana Jones, mixing it with horror. There's a lot of expansions. I believe there is now 5 expansions for Eldritch Horror out there. That's a lot of horror, but a lot of fun. Number 22, 4th year on the list, and that's Robinson Crusoe. And I'm going to bet, this voting was done before Essen 2016, but they came out with a nice, beautiful second edition. I bet you it's going to stay this high on the list or maybe go higher. A cooperative game that is not just Robinson Crusoe, but it's Swiss Family Robinson, it's King Kong, it's Cannibal Pygmies, it's all kinds of stuff on these islands, and each scenario is different. Each scenario you're trying to collect things and build a hut and try to survive. It's an entertaining, fun game, Robinson Crusoe. And the last one for today is number 21. This one is the one that knocked down Race for the Galaxy. This is the second year it's on the list. Last year came in at 52, up to 21, and that's Roll for the Galaxy. Race for the Galaxy was a pretty solid game, right? Very fun, using cards for different things, space theme, great game. Roll for the Galaxy is the same thing, except it's dice. They're really very similar games. I like Roll for the Galaxy better. I like the dice rolling and then the allocatment of the dice. I like having unique, interesting dice. It gives me the same feeling as Race for the Galaxy for the most part, and it plays multiplayers better than Race does. And obviously a lot of you agree with me because it made it up to number 21. But there are still 20 more amazing games to talk about. We'll talk about them next time. Until then, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching the People's Choice Top 100 Games of All Time on the Dice Tower.
Thanks for watching. To see the rest of the top 100 lists, check out our website at Dicetower.com, where you can also find The Dice Tower, the premier podcast about board games. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching
Dice Tower People's Choice Top 100 Games.